Alyssa.
Samantha.
She's hurting today, guys. But are you moderately ready?
Oh,
Oh, she's
well,
not.
not right
No,
now.
she's not.
Okay, now I'm ready.
Let's do it.
Okay, this is weird because I'm talking to you like sideways.
It's just side-eyeing me the whole
Because
time. How do you feel about fucking aliens?
For those of you who don't know, I had like a procedure done on my back. I got a lipoma removed, so I have like an incision that's healing and it's very painful. That's why I'm sitting like this.
But she's trooping through anyways.
Yeah, I'm here. But okay, so like good segue, because that's how this episode came about. Is I've been laying in bed doing absolutely nothing for the past 3 days, and I had asked for Netflix recommendations, and a bunch of people sent me Unsolved Mysteries as something to watch. And one of the Unsolved Mysteries was about this phenomenon that happened, and it was a UFO sighting / abduction.
Where?
So I'm going to tell you about it, okay? Because this sparked for me like an age-old thing that I've been dealing with probably like pretty much my whole life. Look at all these pages.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. I freaking went to town. And like, honestly, this is like just
The tip of the iceberg.
the tip of the iceberg, because when I was younger, my dad was like very into conspiracy theories. And like one of the first conspiracy theories that I ever heard was that the US didn't land on the moon.
Which is a belief she still holds to this day.
But, well, okay, so while I was researching for this episode, some other things have come to light where I'm like, okay, yeah, that doesn't really make sense, which we'll talk about. But it really got me interested in space. Cut to when I was in grade 12, I was hanging out with this guy, like casually, who was like really interested in astronomy. And he was talking to me about like the universe and stuff like that. And I literally like had this moment where I was like, oh my God. Like when I'm like, my eyes are watering, like I get so scared. Like when I think about like how vast the universe is, and like the fact that like I'm actually like gonna like freak out. Like we are just on this planet, okay? There's like billions of other planets. There's actually billions of other Earth-like planets in our universe, but we just like can't get to them, right? Because they're so fucking far away.
I wonder how shit's going over there. Do you think COVID got their way?
Just completely unfazed, does not care about the vastness of our
I
universe.
think about it. I had a friend once that was like super scared of like aliens, but also like other dimensions, like because it's been proven that there's like other dimensions. And anytime you talk about it, she'd be like, "Please stop!" Like, 'cause it's like, like when you think about other dimensions, like there could be people sitting with us. Who knows? And
There's
she
been,
like hates
what do you
that.
mean it's been proven that there's other dimensions?
I'll have to look it up after. I don't know enough to like
Okay,
give
this
you
is
like
too
a
much for
spiel.
me.
But yeah, I don't know that you're like prepared for this.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. My eyes are like watering because of this conversation, but also, you know, chronic rhinitis.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this really interests me. Like when Sam asked me if I was ready to do this episode, I'm like, literally never. Like I could actually research for like probably my entire life and like still have shit to talk about because it's so interesting. But yeah, okay, let me start with the UFO sighting. So first off, I want to ask you like what you feel about aliens. Like, do you think that they exist? Do you think that there's other like life forms in the universe? Are you scared of them? And like, you know, what would you do if you were encountered?
Oh, like, well, I guess it depends, like, what's the circumstance of me being encountered? Like, did we happen across each other in a grocery store? Are they trying to probe me? Those are two very different things for me.
That's true.
Yeah, of course I believe in aliens. Okay. I feel like I think that, like, the only people that don't are people that see it as, like, this, you know, idea of what we've painted aliens as kind of thing in like comic books and stuff, but like of course there's other life forms out there, like there has to be, so whether or not they look like us like we do, I think 100% they're out there. Am I scared of them? Not like existentially so. Like probably if one like landed and was like, "Sup bitches," I'd be like, "Oh well, this is different." Like like I don't know that I would be like, cool, okay. Like, I don't know that I'd be, like, super chill about it.
Yeah.
I'd probably have some questions.
Yeah, and that's something that I came across. It was a documentary. Please hold. Because it was a really interesting documentary. I actually haven't, like, quite finished it. But it's by Welt Documentaries on YouTube. It's called UFOs and Aliens, The Myth of Space Travel. It's a space-time science show. And what someone was saying on there, I couldn't catch his name. I'm pretty sure that he was like a Russian astrophysicist, I want to say. But he was saying that like one of the main reasons that people are scared of aliens is due to history. So if you think back to people who were discovered, honestly, like what happened to them, like it's better to be the discoverer than the discovery.
Yeah.
Right? Or than the discovered. So terrifying, because these aliens, these other life forms, would be so unbelievably advanced because they're so far away. They would have to have the technology to be able to get here from where they are.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's pretty terrifying, because would they then, he was saying, like, look at us as maybe we look at chimpanzees, or he said more likely they would look at us as we look at like a pet dog, because we're so we're not like as developed as them.
Yeah.
So that's something really interesting that I had never thought of, because like you said, Hollywood like depicts them as these like green, like Martians, so to say, because they're, you know, the trope is that they're from Mars, which obviously we haven't seen. But it's so interesting because they could, I mean, if they got here, they would just be so unbelievably advanced, like technologically advanced, to be able to sustain the like circumstances of getting here.
I always wonder about like other planets, because like I wonder about the idea, like these different civilizations, like does religion come about, like because I feel like these are things that are like so human, like we want to believe in something bigger than us, we want to like have faith in something, and so I feel like religion is like such a natural result of just like a society getting together and like chit-chatting, and so I wonder like on other planets if things like that come around, if like how do you feel about social justice? You know, like are the problems that we have on Earth reflected in other planets? That's what I want to know. I guess that I'm gonna have to
find one.
Yeah,
we'll have to get an like an alien on.
I have like a lot of research I'd like to do.
Yeah.
Do you think that they have Zoom?
Okay, so my thinking is that if there are, I also believe that there's obviously other life forms out there. I think that that's incredibly self-centered to think that there's not.
What if they're crab people?
Well, I mean, they could be.
What would you be scared?
Well, I would be scared because they'd be like extremely intelligent crabs.
Yeah, you don't want to fucks with a crab that's smarter than you.
Well, as humans, we're scared of things that we don't understand. Like, that's just it in a nutshell. So, like, would I be scared? Absolutely. That's terrifying, because you don't know their intent either. Like, you know, if they came here and they were like, hey, whoa. I mean, we wouldn't understand them, right? Because, like, I feel like they've never interacted with a human being on planet Earth. So we wouldn't, like, you know, would they have some sort of way to communicate with us? Probably not, unless they've been like studying us from afar, kind of the way that we study dogs.
Although I feel like people do communicate non-verbally, like, because like even like when I've traveled to countries where there's language barrier, it's like we're still able to communicate. And when I look back to like interactions that I had with people that didn't speak any English at all, I remember it as if we had a conversation. But
my feeling on that is we still have this kind of, these like socially accepted, kind of widely accepted gestures and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Whereas someone from another far, far away planet, you know, would they have that sort of
What if the planet isn't that far away? It's just in another dimension. It's actually like right beside us.
Yeah, that would be interesting if they were like dimension hopping.
Yeah. Casual.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you're one.
And exactly. We can't know.
You heard it here first on Approachable. So yeah, that's something that really interests me, is like, what would their intent be? And I would almost think that if they had the technology to come here, that they would have been studying us from afar somehow. So maybe, right? Yeah. Like kind of the same way that we like study different planets, like the actual planets themselves. But number two, I think that they would have had to have figured out how to be immortal. Because if you think about how long it would take to get to, like, assuming that they're extremely, like, far away, like light years and light years away, that would take ages to get here.
With Earth's technology.
Well, that's true, yeah.
The thing that I think is so odd is that, like, why would the government want to cover up, like, alien things? I've never understood that. Like, why why would that like be a harm to society? Do you know what I mean?
Well, like mass hysteria.
You think so?
I mean, I don't know. We're just two girls with Google.
Yeah.
But
in this economy, yeah. I feel like people are like they're ready.
Well, the government did admit, was it the government or was it NASA? Because there was a video circulating. Oh, hold on. I don't remember when it was. I think it was 2004 and 2017 is when these videos started circulating of these air fighter pilots and somebody else, maybe Navy. I can't remember. I should have come more prepared. But anyway, this is like a widely seen, like these are widely seen images and like videos. They were circulating and people thought that they were doctored, and they're unidentified objects, or they started calling them phenomenons now, or phenomena, like aerial phenomena or something like that, probably to get away from the trope of UFOs. But I mean, everybody still calls them UFOs. Anyway, they look like what you would think like when you immediately think of like an alien spaceship. That's kind of what they look like. Mm-hmm. And the most damning one to me is the one that's from the fighter jets, where it literally is like a saucer with like a little like bubble on the top, and it's spinning, like doing acrobatics in the air. And the government finally came out in April 2020, like this year, and released those videos from, I have it written down somewhere, but it's like they basically were confirming that these videos were not doctored, and that to say like this is all the material we have on these, because people were saying like, oh, you're doctoring these, like these aren't real. And so it was just like a huge conspiracy. And so they finally came out and they were like, this is all we have. We are confirming that these are unidentified objects.
And we'll leave you with that. Enjoy.
But that is absolutely crazy that they actually came out and said that, because before they just kept disproving and being like, no, like this isn't a thing. Now they're finally like, yeah, I don't know what the fuck it is.
TBH, guys? Not sure.
Have you seen those videos?
I've seen videos before. Yeah. I have probably come across them in my travels.
Yeah, that one is like
dimensions.
I can't imagine. But this is my thing too, is if I was like, I mean, I don't really understand the ins and outs of like fighter pilots. I don't know if they're allowed to do this. Oh, you don't? No, well, no. You know, literally have no degrees. Very, very little knowledge. If I was those two pilots, I would be like, veering off course here, boys. I need to go investigate this. I mean, I assume there's probably a pilot in there that's like, no, you can't do that. Like in the comments. But I feel like I would be like, fuck it. This is like my time to shine. But of course you could like hit other, planes and stuff like that in the sky. But it's just crazy, like having the chance to like potentially come into contact with like an extraterrestrial being.
Would you take the opportunity?
If it was safe to do so, like in every other thing, like if I could quickly like talk to ground control or whatever and be like, can I go 200 yards or whatever it is? I don't know how far this thing was, but if I was like, can I go closer to this thing? And they said, yeah, go ahead. Then absolutely, I would take the opportunity. I'd be like, hell yeah. Because like, what a way to go. Like if honestly, like
I'll take it.
Yeah, just like, I really feel like I would, because like I think at that point, my like logical reasoning wouldn't even come into play.
Out the door.
Because I'd be like, holy crap, like I've never seen something like this before. And there was actually a time when I lived in Toronto when I looked up and there was like what I thought was like a UFO, and I could not I was on a bike, like a bicycle, and I could not stop looking at it. Like I was just like,
what did it turn out to be?
I can't remember, but I remember like a lot of people were looking at it, and like it was like, I think it was disproven it was something else, but regardless, I was like obsessed and I could not stop looking at it. So I was like, I think I would take that opportunity.
Morbid curiosity, man. But I think also like because people are so worried that there's going to be something that happens to the earth and they want to know there's going to be somewhere else to go. But I think I'd be scared to do that.
To like approach?
To abandon fucking earth, to go live elsewhere and be like, see ya.
I wouldn't want to be one of the first.
No, for sure not. For sure not.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm just like, I'm so interested, because I feel like with all of the unexplained things, how is it that that's not the case? Like, I feel like they do come to our planet and they're like fucking chilling.
They're walking among us?
No, I don't think they're walking among us. So maybe fucking chilling is like a little bit of a stretch. But I mean, do I feel this way? I could be persuaded, like either way at this point. But I just, with the governments being so willing to like disprove for like, you know,
and hide shit.
Yeah. Why haven't they been like, oh, it was this, you know?
I need someone on like Edward Snowden's level, but with the alien side of things to come forward.
Yes.
Let this be your encouragement.
But that's the thing is like the stuff that Edward Snowden released was like, that was not even something we could even like fathom that was happening.
Well, and the thing that's so sad is that like, I mean, it was like a huge, huge, huge moment, but there were so many people that read it and were like,
I was one of those people back then.
Like most people were kind of like, oh, okay, whatever.
But that's the thing is like, if that kind of stuff is going on behind the scenes, like, oh my goodness, who knows what else is like being highly classified. And that was something that with the moon landing, that people were like disproving the conspiracy. They were saying that there were like upwards of 4,000 people who worked on communications and stuff like that for the 1969 moon landing. 1969. You know, see, I just don't care about the date because like you didn't have it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm pretty sure it was 1969 because in 1959, that's
it was
when
the summer of '69.
Because the Soviets, it was July 20th.
Hell yeah.
Summer of 69.
That worked perfectly.
But yeah, the Soviets, had the first human-made object to touch the moon in 1959, 10 years earlier. But where was I going with that before that?
You were saying that there was 4,000 people working on ground control. There's just a lot of opportunities to break out into songs within this. Yeah.
Anyway, there was 4,000 people working on this when we didn't. The U.S. did.
I was there.
I often forget they were Canadian. You know. No, I'm just kidding. But there were 4,000 people who worked on this, and they were saying, how could you silence 4,000 people or keep 4,000 people from like letting this secret out? But it's like, I mean, there's military that we, you know, trust with very classified information. There's like, again, like the CIA and like all, you know, everybody who worked with Edward Snowden and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I think that I agree. That's a good point to make, that it's hard to keep that many people quiet. But I think that it's naive to think that it's not happening in other avenues.
Well, and I think it's also just like underestimating the fear that like the government puts into people, because like if you think that like I mean, look at Edward Snowden. He knew that he couldn't stay in America and say what he said, so he had to fucking leave his life completely, live somewhere else on a different continent that he probably wasn't dying to live on, like because he knew that the repercussions would be massive.
Yeah. So anyway, I'll quickly tell you where my thoughts were with like with the US not landing on the moon in 1969. Mainly, I think the intent behind it, like the motive behind getting to the moon that quickly, was because the Russians were going to do it. Because in 1950, it was a race to the moon, basically, to be the first people to
assert dominance.
Honestly, though, because that's the thing is like they, you know, those are two very intense superpowers, and it was like whoever gets there first kind of like had, you know, say over the, you know,
the fucking moon.
I mean, they put a U.S. flag on there.
This shit, mine.
Yeah, you know,
fuck y'all.
So I think, again, this is a conspiracy, you guys. Okay, I'm not like I have Google. That's it. But
I have Google and passion.
Yeah, but I don't know. That to me, I'm just like, how in 10 years did you go from not even being close to being able to go to the moon? Okay, the Soviets had already landed a human-made object on there. They got moon rock from there. They were able to take objects from the moon back. The U.S. hadn't done that. And then all of a sudden you can send these astronauts into space. They can get off of the spacecraft. They can walk around. They can put down a flag. It just seems like crazy to me. And also wild that NASA came out and said that they lost the technology or something like that. That's fucking wild. Remember I mentioned that? I should have looked it up again, but that's crazy because people were like, why didn't you go to the moon again? And they're like, oh, we lost the technology. It's like, huh?
Misplaced that, actually.
What? And then there's the obvious ones that the conspiracy theorists use, which is that the U.S. flag was waving, which wouldn't have been a thing on the moon. It would have like had to like just be limp. But then the astronauts came out and said that there was like something supporting it so that it wouldn't be limp and like it was more, I'm assuming, patriotic. And then there was the one about the camera, and they had contacted the camera company that they were allegedly using on the moon, and the camera company was like, there's absolutely no way. We don't even have anything today that would withstand the pressure of space. Like it would be like absolutely like not a thing,
like disintegrated.
Yeah. And so there would be no way for that camera to like take pictures. So that one to me is a little like, what?
What if it was just like a really good drawing? Have we considered this?
Yeah. Well, because the conspiracy is that they did this on like a soundstage, like a Hollywood studio. But then there's like pretty crazy evidence that I came across today, which has like been out there forever. It's just I came across it today. But the U.S. astronauts, NASA, they retrieved moon rock from that voyage. And the Russians matched the moon rock together. And I think it was helium-3 or something like that.
I'm just picturing like two little like sides of a heart, and they're like friends.
I don't know that that's what the U.S. and Russia were doing at that time. I think
that was what was happening.
Okay, got it. Anyway, they confirmed that they were of the same composition, and that I think it was helium-3. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm not a friggin' astrophysicist or like scientist. But anyway, that would have come from the solar winds going through the rock, not something that happens on Earth. The other thing that I thought was interesting with this conspiracy is that disproves what I was thinking is like Russia wanted to so badly be the first ones on the moon, and they weren't particularly friendly with the US at that point in time. Why would they not want to use everything they could to disprove that the US had gone?
Yeah.
Right? Like, why would they be like, ah, darn, you got us? No, they would be like,
good job, guys.
Yeah. They would be doing everything in their power to be like, to disprove everything that they were claiming. And there would have been like apparently like radio signal or whatever it is, they would have been able to act like exactly pinpoint where they were based on the transmission signals. I don't know. That one is still like up in the air for me, not to be extremely disrespectful to the astronauts that went to the moon, like Buzz Aldrin and
my boy Buzz,
Neil Armstrong. It's outrageous to me that people don't think of Buzz Aldrin. Like, people are always so shocked when I know, like, it comes up weirdly often, like in board games and stuff like that. I know, it's a bit, they're always like, oh yeah, good one. And I'm like, this is crazy that Neil Armstrong took like all of the credit, and then like Buzz and everybody else. Well, and I don't know everybody else. So like, there you have it. I'm proving my own point. But it's like, just because he was the first man to walk out there, like, what about second place? Like, that's so unfair.
Nope.
But anyway, not to be extremely disrespectful, because like, I can't imagine like training my whole life to do this, and then I'm like one of the first people to step on the moon, and then everybody's like, nah, you didn't. Like, fuck you.
Sounds fake.
And you know what?
Fake news.
If you want to say fuck you to me, only those two though. Like, only the astronauts. No, nobody else in the comments say that. But then absolutely, that's totally fair. And actually, Buzz Aldrin did punch a documentary reporter in the face when he asked that. Gave him a right hook.
Love it.
Which is like, had I gone to the moon and somebody was saying I didn't, I'd probably do the same thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, those were my feelings about the moon landing. Obviously, I believe that we've been to space since. Of course, we have like satellites and stuff like that up there. And there's actually tourists who have been to space.
Fabulous.
There's I think there were 2 multimillionaires or something like that who actually, they weren't allowed to like get out of the spacecraft, but they
all hands inside the ride.
But isn't that crazy that there's been like basically regular people? I don't know if they were like had to go through training or if they were actually like millionaire astronauts or what, but the documentary that I was watching said that there have been, quote, tourists in space.
Hey man, I mean, if there's a will, there's a way.
That's just crazy to me.
I wanted to say quickly though, because you're talking about like them coming up with, like the US coming up with the like ability to be able to go to the moon so quickly.
Technology, yeah.
The only thing I would say to contest that, probably not the only thing, but the first thing I would say to contest that is that there's like so many spies within each other's government.
Oh yeah.
Kind of like passing along information that I would not doubt that the US was like, listen. Yeah. I need y'all to get over there. Tell us what's going down. Text me pics.
Yeah, that's something I hadn't thought about. That's fair. Yeah, I don't know. Space is just like so weird to me. The other thing I just want to say quickly, like, why does everybody hate on Jupiter? You know, like Jupiter is my favorite. Actually, no. Okay, so Pluto is my favorite planet. This has nothing to do with the episode.
I know. Pluto really got like,
you guys,
shafted.
When Pluto became not counted as a planet, I was like, are you joking? I actually had a dream that Pluto was the only planet that we could live on. Recently, I had this dream. And everybody was like freaking out, being like, but we just unnamed it a planet.
Are your eyes watering about Pluto?
I was really attached to Pluto. It was so small. Okay. It was at the end of the solar system. I always remembered it. I had magic. I am crying now, but I had the Magic School Bus like solar system thing on Sega, I'm pretty sure. And I used to play it. It was just like really fun, and Pluto was my favorite. And it's just like it just got shafted, you know? Like it's just really rude. Anyway, I had this dream, and it turned out that Pluto was the only planet that we could live on. And then they were like, but we named it not a planet, so we couldn't move there. And I was like, yeah, so I guess you fucked up.
Yeah. Fuck you guys. Okay.
But
I don't know that Jupiter gets that bad of a rap. I think Uranus does.
I had a grade 9 science teacher who like vehemently described it as Uranus.
Uranus. That sounds lovely.
Yeah. I hated him though. He was the friggin' worst. He was absolutely the worst teacher I've ever had in my entire life. He was outrageously intelligent. Had no business teaching grade 9 science.
Maybe alien.
Doubt it. He was a college professor. He was a college professor who ended up teaching grade 9 science.
Why would you ever go back to fucking grade 9, assholes?
I mean, I have no idea, but that's the thing is like I think he was so intelligent. He had like he didn't know how to like dumb it down enough. You know what I mean? I got a C- in grade 9 science and an A+ in grade 10 science.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Anyway, allegedly Uranus is how you're supposed to say it.
I love it.
Yeah. I know nothing about Uranus. So maybe it does get shafted, but Jupiter was my favorite with its big giant spot on it and all its gases.
Yeah.
My brother's was Saturn, if I recall. What's your favorite planet? Just
Pluto.
Really?
Yeah, I really liked Pluto a lot because I felt like it was the underdog.
Yeah.
And I didn't appreciate that.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm still sad about it. I'm still salty about it. Who decided that too? Was it NASA?
I don't know.
I blame you guys for this. Anyway, but like that's the thing is the world then, did they collectively decide that Pluto wasn't a planet just because like NASA said so?
But also it's just like who has the right? You know?
Yeah.
Like what if someone said that about Earth? They were like, that's not a planet. We're like, fuck. I really thought otherwise.
Anyway, that's my feelings on the moon landing. I don't know.
I'm glad we started with that.
Yeah.
The most important thing is covered right out the gate.
Imagine I become like outrageously wealthy and I become a tourist and I land on the moon.
Yeah.
I become a tourist. I become a space tourist, I mean.
I have transcended into a tourist state.
That's actually where I was going with this. That took a long time for me to remember. I'm on a lot of like Advil and Tylenol. I know that shouldn't change your brain, but I feel like it's giving me like brain fog.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking is the amount that we've been on the moon, right? Like rovers and shit like that. I feel like we would have seen some shit. Because, what do you mean? Because that's the alien thing started, like they thought that it was coming from the moon. They thought that people were living on the moon, like moon men.
Like they probably got up there and they were like, yeah, pretty fucking desolate.
Yeah, that's because I believe that there's other life forms out there. Probably they live on other Earth-like planets, right? But yeah, I feel like with Mars and with like the moon and shit like that, it's like, wouldn't we have seen some shit by now?
But didn't they find water on Mars?
They did, yeah.
So, like, didn't that lead them to conclude that, like, life is possible there?
I think it did. I can't recall.
Mars looks like not, like, a fun time.
Yeah. It's interesting that all of the planets are, like, such a different color.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, why are we so many different colors and, like, Mars is just, like, hella red?
Well, because it's just, like, a big gas ball. And in saying that, why does that get to be a planet and not Pluto?
Yeah. Pluto is too far away, I think, and too small.
Pluto stands.
Hashtag Pluto.
Yeah.
Hashtag I stand with Pluto.
I stand with Pluto. Free Pluto.
Anyway.
Tell me about those fucking UFO landings.
Yeah, so moving on to the...
Or not landings, sightings.
Yeah. So this one is the one that's the most interesting to me because it's like the most like
compelling.
Yeah, compelling is a great word to use.
Thank you.
So
and you're welcome.
Yeah. So my knowledge of this comes from Unsolved Mysteries, the new Netflix doc series that came out, and then also allthingsinteresting.com, and then later on indiatvnews.com, and then later on Peacock Kids by DreamWorks TV on YouTube.
All sound legit. Yeah.
So
those I trust you with my fucking life, bro.
So these are my sources going forward. So September 1st, 1969. Okay. Berkshire County, Massachusetts.
Oh, wow.
Massachusetts.
You really went like fucking head first into that pronunciation. Massachusetts. Like you somehow added more syllables into that.
It really hurts to laugh.
I'm so sorry. Oh, fuck.
In the town of Sheffield.
Say it again.
No.
Oh, fuck.
Anyway, you can hear it when you edit it.
Okay.
So the reason that this one's so compelling to me is because stop.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm just going to say Massachusetts. Massachusetts? How do you say it?
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
Why do you put a twang on it?
Massachusetts. I don't know. I don't think I've ever said that state before for some reason. Is Massachusetts a state?
I'm like 99% sure, but let me look it up and then I'll play the pronunciation while we're at it.
Okay. I'm sorry. Fuck. Massachusetts. Yeah, Boston, Massachusetts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is a state.
Hold on. It is a state.
Well, like, you know when you say something over and over and over?
Yeah.
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. There.
They made it sound like really like
eloquent.
No problem, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. So the reason that this one is so compelling for me is because so many people are witness to this phenomenon that didn't even know each other. Like Sheffield was a small town, but there were so many people who came out later saying basically the same thing that this one guy is saying. So the main focus of the Unsolved Mysteries documentary, the episode, was Thomas Reed. And so he basically describes, I'm going to do it off of memory, but I have it written down, but he basically describes him and his mom and his grandma and I think his younger brother coming home from eating in town, and they're going across this bridge, and it's like a covered bridge, and they come to the other side and they see lights in the fields, and they're like shining down, and it's like really illuminated. And they can't hear anything. Like their windows are down. They're not hearing any sounds of like summer, you know. They're not hearing crickets. They're not hearing wildlife. And they're in this huge like fielded area sort of with like a drive. And then all of a sudden these like crickets and wildlife and just start erupting like so loudly. Like something is really disrupting them. Like whether it be like sound waves or like whatever. And then he witnesses this like flying saucer thing with like a sphere on top. So basically like what we would think of as like, again, an alien like spaceship sort of situation, which also it's so interesting to me, like that these things that we do have like video evidence of and stuff like that are depicted by other people in drawings and stuff. Like so the mind comes up with things for a reason. You know what I mean? Like I wonder if somebody actually had seen that and then they drew it and we keep seeing the same kind of like vessel. So yeah, he said he was 9 years old when he reported this, like when it occurred. And he reported seeing strange lights so bright that they lit up the whole Reed family car. So he could like see like the whole dashboard. Like it's like super, super dark and yeah, stuff like that. His mom's driving. So he witnessed the aircraft that was disc-shaped, and yeah, depicts UFOs, like what UFOs looking like. And he said it was unclear how long this phenomenon lasted. So he stated that he remembers about 15 minutes of time, but when he came back to, So like basically he has no recollection of what happened, but he later stated that he remembers being walked to the spaceship with like fluorescent like tubes in it, like of like liquid and stuff like that, like the stuff that he had never seen on Earth and still to this day has not seen on Earth. But you know when like people have like cool like neon liquid in their computers? That's like what I'm picturing.
Yeah.
But like in the spacecraft. So he says he recalls about 15 minutes of this time, but when the whole family, so there's 4 of them, right? When they come back to, they're in front of, I think it was a pharmacy 3 hours later, 3 hours of time that they can't account for, all of them. But when they come back to, his grandma is in the driver's seat and his mom is in the passenger seat. And what's interesting about this account is that the grandma never drove, like ever. And so what he felt like was that the family got abducted. He said, don't know what they did, if they collected what they took. Like, you know, it sounds a little like suspicious, but probed them perhaps. But when they put them back, they wanted it to seem like nothing had happened sort of thing. Like they wanted to wipe their memories or whatever, but they made a mistake putting the grandma in the driver's seat instead of the mom because the grandma never drove. 40 other people from Sheffield ended up coming forward saying that they witnessed like basically the same account. And there were people like police chiefs and stuff like that who went on record saying that they had received calls, radio stations, like people were calling into the radio station. And at first they were like, oh, whatever, like this is like a crock of shit basically. And then so many people were coming forth with the same story that he was like, I have to like, you know, the radio station guy was like, I have to run this story because so many people are talking about this. They even ended up having like a monument put into place. Thomas Reed did. He's like really like the forerunner of this, put into place to signify that this happened, which the city ended up taking away because it was supposed to be about like the collective phenomena and not just Thomas Reed. But anyway, and what's interesting about this phenomena is that I feel like when you think of people who are talking about being abducted and stuff like that, usually you feel like there's something off about them that you don't trust. Which again is just like, I guess like humans trying to prove what like they don't believe in sort of thing, or they believe can't happen. When I watched this documentary, none of these people to me seemed like they had anything to lie about, like any reason to make up this account of what happened. They all seemed like very, you know, sane and like lived very like sane and normal lives sort of thing. Yeah. There was even one woman who I think was like in her 80s or something like that. She's like, I'm in my 80s. Like, why would what do I have to gain by talking about this? Like, why do I care sort of thing? She's like, it happened. And so that one was really, really interesting to me.
Hold on. Did his mom and his grandma like agree with his account?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thomas Reed.
Yeah. So yeah, that one's just like super interesting to me because like basically, not the whole city, because there are a lot of people who were like, you guys are like, you know, whatever, crocs, or like disproving, like trying to disrupt the story that they were going with. But there were kids who were going into school drawing the same thing, like drawing spaceships and like drawing basically what all the other kids were drawing without ever having talked to each other. And that's just like, how could that coincidence be? And I mean, you have to remember back at that time, it's not like we had like Instagram and Facebook and to share these ideas. It was really just radio. And so it would be pretty like shocking to me if these kids were just randomly coming up with these things in their minds all of a sudden. So anyway, that was the story that really got me interested. And I was like, that could have happened. But NASA has stated that as far as they know, no astronaut has ever seen a UFO in space. Not everything they saw they immediately could identify, but there's no evidence to prove that they've ever seen a UFO in space. So that's something that's interesting as well. Whilst flying around in space, they've never seen anything that was like considered to be like extraterrestrial. So then that got me thinking of like when the first major sighting was of a UFO. And that was in 1947. Ooh. In Roswell, New Mexico. Mm-hmm. I wanted to say New Jersey for some reason, but I wrote down New Mexico. So I'm going to go with New Mexico. So
on the Jersey Shore.
Yeah. Found by Pauly D.
Yeah.
So this, I believe, well, no, I know. So there have been other sightings and records of things like this, but this was like the first one in the US that like really caught people's attention and like where this all kind of like sprung from. So that's why I'm going with this one. So this was the first major sighting was in 1947 in Roswell, New Mexico, where a UFO allegedly crashed on a ranch in the area. So this guy was like riding on horseback, was just like trundling along, blah, blah, blah. And he comes across this wreckage site. Let me make sure that I'm like talking about it correctly. So yeah, so the wreckage was described as a large area of bright wreckage made up of rubber strips, tinfoil, tough paper, and sticks. So this one is not nearly as compelling to me just because of how he described the wreckage, because in my opinion, in my non-expert opinion, there's no way that you could fly through space with tough paper and rubber and sticks.
It was fucking tough paper, man. Yeah. You didn't see what I saw.
So, I mean, but at the time, right, in 1947, how much did they really know about space and stuff like that? I don't know. I wasn't there. But interesting that they thought that tinfoil could possibly be from an extraterrestrial being.
The flimsiest.
Yeah. So I wrote down here the U.S. military stated this, but I could be wrong. It could have been the military. It could have been the U.S. Air Force. I was like really having a hard time like paying attention for some reason. My poor brain is air foggy. But anyway, it stated that it was merely a conventional weather balloon that he had come across. So what this guy did, his name was, please hold, Mac Brazel. So this guy, what he did was he went to the sheriff's department and was like, hey man, I found this shit. He like picked up some stuff from this point.
He has a box full of twigs and tough paper.
Yeah.
What do you think about this, man? Because I've got some ideas.
He brought it to the sheriff. I don't know how he carried it, maybe in his saddlebags. And he was like, hey man.
He had it on a fanny pack. Dropping all these rubber things.
Tough paper. He's dropping the tough paper. He's like, hey man, I have these things. And the sheriff says, I think that you may have come across like a flying disc is what he said. I'm pretty sure it was what he called it, a flying disc, but said that he should keep it under wraps. Like he shouldn't talk to anybody about it. So this Mac Brazel guy leaves. The sheriff immediately calls the U.S. Air Force, I'm pretty sure. Please hold. I have to find it in my notes. Yeah, so the sheriff contacted Roswell Army Airfield, who seized and tested the materials. So they tested the rubber and tough paper. And they are the ones who stated that it was a air balloon. Yeah, so it was the Roswell Airfield people, not the U.S. military. However, at the same time, okay, so going back, sorry, they told him to like keep his mouth shut also. They were like, listen, it's just an air balloon. Shut your fucking trap, okay? Don't talk about this to anybody.
Buddy.
That is kind of like where the conspiracy comes from, because it's like, well, if it was just a weather balloon, like why can't I talk about it? Why can't I be like, hey, I found this weather balloon? You know what I mean? But they were like, zip it. Don't talk about it. At the same time, multiple witnesses stated that they saw strange and charred creatures inside the airfield. Right? Okay, so air balloon, strange and charred creatures in the airfield at the same time. So I wrote, after the Roswell Army Airfield people made their statements, because this Mac Brazel guy had been like running his mouth about this, the papers had picked it up. And so it was like this huge like frenzy about there must be like a UFO in the Roswell area. And like perhaps these strange and charred people are aliens. Once the Roswell Air Force people came out and said like, hey, this didn't happen, it was a conventional weather balloon, the papers then corrected the situation and kind of like it all died down. And it was like, yeah, unfortunately, the news had spread so much, it was popping up all over the country about like, you know, UFOs are real and like aliens exist and stuff like that. Unfortunately, or like fortunately, because like cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, this kind of died down in Roswell until the 1980s. When two UFO researchers, Charles Berlitz and William L. Moore, wrote a book titled The Roswell Incident, claiming it was all a government cover-up.
Oh.
Yeah. So they wrote a book. I haven't read it, but I'm assuming claiming that like the government covered up this like UFO sighting, which is why they were telling Mac Brazel to zip it.
Yeah.
So experts and government agencies disputed those claims that were stated in the book. But yeah, but the spark was lit and the conspiracy theories started running rampant. Okay.
Where's Area 51? Do you remember?
It's in Nevada.
Okay.
I know that's an interesting one for me too. We can talk about that after this. So interestingly, okay, that was in the 80s that they released that book. In 1994, the U.S. Air Force admitted that the air balloon was actually a secret U.S. spy balloon. Okay. Part of Project Mogul, which was designed to attempt to monitor Soviet nuclear tests by detecting sound waves in the upper atmosphere. So it was, I guess, like a little bit of a government cover-up.
Yeah.
But interesting that it took them so long. I would assume because like they moved on to different technologies and they didn't need that to be classified anymore. But so interesting that these people were like, this was a cover-up. And it's like, oh, it was a cover-up, but it was just like a cover-up of a different kind.
It was like a chill cover-up.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it, guys.
Just spying.
Yeah.
Just spying on things. But it took over 40 years for them to own up to that. And then it turned out that the charred bodies that people were seeing, that witnesses were claiming they saw, were parachute crash test dummies that had been burned up in an accident. So, I mean, a little bit of a coincidence there.
Yeah.
Interesting. However, that was all that came of that. That's all I have on that. I have something else from New Jersey, USA, but it's just not as interesting to me. So,
okay.
Just like tons of other sightings of like UFOs and like phenomenons that, have not been explained. But the one in Roswell is like not as compelling for me, obviously for the reasons I stated, but I mean, it just like, it turned out to actually be like a spy balloon. But I think that it's interesting that got people really like fired up about UFOs. And then all of a sudden, like we have a bunch of freaking UFO sightings and shit like that.
Yeah. But like, see, it's the only thing with that is like, I think that also people like, see what they want to believe, you know? So like a lot of the times it's probably just like Delta Airlines, but like people want to believe.
Yeah.
Like, did you ever watch X-Files with Mulder and Scully?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe you should if you're interested in this. Okay. It was recorded in Vancouver, first of all.
Oh.
And it's basically about aliens.
Oh.
Yeah, it's fucking awesome.
I should watch that. One of my girlfriends was on one of the X-Files episodes before it
What's her name?
canceled.
Is it Dana Scully?
No.
No. Okay.
It's not. She had like a small part.
Okay, fine. She was an alien.
Perhaps.
Uh-oh.
Perhaps they cast only aliens on that show.
Did you read anything about Area 51?
No, I didn't read anything for this episode, but I have heard like a lot of conspiracies about Area 51 just like throughout my travels of conspiracy in general.
Yeah.
But one of the conspiracies is that that's where the moon landing was staged.
Okay.
There was also, I think I heard this like when I was on set last year, there was a thing where a bunch of people, workers went missing that worked at Area 51. Yeah, and they were coming out making claims that like they were being drugged and stuff like that, and then they all went missing, but I can't remember that story, so I'd have to, I mean, we could do like a full Area 51 podcast episode, but
episode in itself.
I mean, I'm a little like nervous about doing that, if I'm being completely honest.
Why?
I get nervous talking about stuff like that. Like that. I had like spit in my mouth that I had to control.
That's cool.
Sorry. Because like, I don't know.
You think they're going to come after you?
Maybe.
Yeah, but I feel like you wouldn't be bringing up anything new.
Yeah, that's true. I would just be talking
or
about
would you?
No, I don't have any inside information. I literally just have Google.
We should go.
To Area 51? There was something that happened where a bunch of people went to Area 51 recently. Did they
They're
not?
like, we demand answers.
I'm pretty sure that happened.
Awesome.
I'm pretty sure
I'm behind them 100%.
like vlogged. But yeah, there is like a lot of conspiracy around Area 51 for sure.
I'm going to look into it later.
In Nevada, yeah.
I wish that I had more to add.
That's okay.
Can we talk about probing people?
Okay, so what I want to say about that is that I think that aliens get a bad rap.
Okay.
Because who decided that their intention would be to come here to probe us?
Well, I think that the intention would be that, like, if they came here, they probably wouldn't just be like, cool, yeah, looks good, guys. You did good. I like the swimming pool aspect. That's nice. This is a nice touch. And see you later. That was fucking awesome.
No, I mean, what would be their intention then? I don't know.
To research humans. The same way that, like, if we found an alien, 100% the government would, like, fucking snatch their little body or big body and put them in Area 51 and probe the shit out of them.
That is one of the conspiracies of Area 51 also, is that it's an alien. One, I'm pretty sure that the U.S. government did admit to having an extraterrestrial. Fuck, I wish I had written it down. It was like a program into researching UFOs, but that they've since shut it down.
I want to read about, like, what sparked people believing that Area 51 was like anything to do with aliens.
I can feel Matt listening to music below us on my foot.
Yeah.
In his car.
Fucking loud.
It's like hitting my foot as if it's a foot massage.
Does it feel kind of nice?
No. It's better than the, like, friggin' 757 that he used to drive.
Oh, shit.
9 in the morning. It's like...
That was the worst.
Anyway, yeah, I don't know where they first thought of that. I think it's just, like, because it's such a highly protected and classified area. Mm-hmm. I mean, of any conspiracy, you know.
Yeah.
I feel like would surround something like that.
That's fair. But you don't think that aliens are probing people? I need to go back to this quickly.
Sorry. I guess I agree that they might want to take. I feel like they would. Well, now, sorry, I'm like going through this in my head because they wouldn't be able to take us back because our bodies wouldn't be able to travel through space at the same speeds that theirs would unless they brought us like their crazy suit technology or whatever. So maybe people who go missing, not all people, but people like that are abducted that go missing, allegedly, are on their planets. And so they have humans on their planets and they've taken them back to their planet to investigate. But who knows? Maybe they have a lot more, like they follow ethics. Like maybe they're studying us in like a normal, like kind way.
Just like a gentle probe.
Yeah. Like, okay. Why do we think that they're like heathens?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that it's like non-consensual probing.
But what if...
Where like they have to knock you the fuck out to go study your body.
Yeah.
And who knows if they're like, again, taking a kidney.
Don't know.
Exactly. You don't know and you wouldn't know.
But what if they've been taking people all along who they're like, hey, I have this crazy opportunity for you. MLM.
Hey, hun.
What if they're like, I have this crazy opportunity for you. You can come and live on our planet. No one else is going to get this opportunity. We'll come back and take your family eventually.
I'd be like, well, that's going to be lonely as shit.
Would you say no?
Can I bring a friend?
If an alien came up to you and was like, you get to be a part of this, would you say no?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be like, that sounds pretty fucking miserable.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to look at me weird.
Yeah, they would.
Yeah.
But like excitedly because like you're from another world.
Yeah. Did you have, what was that teacher's name? I can't remember his name, but he was one of my science teachers and he like talked about his like theory around aliens and that they're actually us.
Interesting. Was this in high school? Mm-hmm. Well, didn't you have Dr. T?
In grade 10, yep. I think it was my grade 11.
Green?
I can't remember. Maybe.
Semenuk? Those are all of your science teachers. So.
All of mine.
I'm pretty sure.
I can't remember who it was, but I just remember. Have I not told you about his theory?
No.
Oh my goodness gracious. It was actually like fairly compelling. Like it always sounds like a little kooky when you're talking about aliens. But he was saying that he basically thinks that like, you know, as we've evolved from being like potentially like single-celled little organisms to where we are now, he was talking about like how we would like evolve going forward. So he was like, you know, we would lose the need for different sexes.
But why would we lose that need? How would we reproduce?
Because he was saying that like, you know, through like how we've been able to like replicate life forms in like petri dishes and stuff like that.
Oh.
He thinks that like, and because we're able to control so much more that way, like we're able to control, you know, like any potential like genetic mutations, anything like that. He thinks that like basically we would start just like producing humans that way so that we could like perfect the human form. Interesting. So you would take like material. It wouldn't be like sperm or an egg. It would just be like genetic maybe material or whatever.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting.
And then he said like, you know, like he talked about like all these other like typical characteristics we think of when we think of aliens, like really large eyes, really long fingers. And he's like, you know, like as we adapt to technology, like our fingers get longer and longer to be like more beneficial for like typing, different stuff like that. Our eyes get larger because we like, as we perfect like the human form, like we lose the need to like be sleeping, so we have larger eyes so that we can see better at night, and like all this different stuff. He like went like down all these different pathways, but then he was like, I think what happened is some kind of world event happened, like whether that's you know, a pandemic that started wiping out the human race or like a natural disaster or whatever. And he was like, and this like created a need for them to have to come back and get like DNA from where we are now. So they like traveled back in time, pick us up. They're like, hold on, baby. Okay. Gonna need to do a quick probe because they have to like take our DNA and fucking go back and hopefully save the human race.
Okay, see, this is what I mean. Why do they get a bad rep? Maybe they're just trying to freaking save the human race.
Because we don't know that for sure.
I know, but I'm just saying, it seems like this teacher was like very kind towards the aliens. I think that's a great theory.
I think it's plausible.
I think that's really interesting, especially when you brought up the fact that other dimensions apparently exist. Are you fucked?
Yeah. We can do another episode about that.
Yeah, I'd love to.
I have to like do like a lot of learning though. That's like
I know.
A commitment.
Man, if we had the budget of like Joe Rogan, dude, we'd have so many freaking experts on here. It would be so dope. We could fly everybody in. Not right now, obviously, but like it'd be so sick. We could have like the coolest conversations.
We could. I still want to have that lady from BC that talks about trees.
Dude, that chick is like wild.
Yeah, I love
so,
her.
Like so knowledgeable in her field.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I really am like blending in with this couch right now.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that it's like the exact same color.
You didn't even notice I was sitting here.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I couldn't see it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's basically all I have. I'm sorry if any of that information was like slightly inaccurate. I really did try to write down all of the facts and stuff like that, but I do know that I mixed up the military and the Air Force at one point, and for that I apologize. But I'm really like
just for that I am deeply sorry.
Oh well, because I don't like getting shit wrong. Like I would like spreading information.
I mean,
so
I think in the realm of like talking about aliens,
yeah,
maybe people won't be as up in arms with. Actually,
yeah. Yeah, it's like pretty freaking difficult to do research when you like don't really know what day it is.
Yeah.
To be quite frank.
That's fair.
But I tried my best.
You done good.
Thank you.
I feel like this was a fun episode.
Yeah, I'm like honestly very interested by space. I have very little knowledge on it.
Okay.
But very, very interested.
Well, we can learn more.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay.
Actually, I'd love to take a course.
Let's do it.
Well, you can take courses online.
Skillshare. No, yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
All
right. Well, anyway, thank you guys for listening / watching. If there's any aliens out there, please feel free to contact me.
DM me.
Yeah. I think that you have good intentions.
I could go either way. You let me know.
Yeah, we'll leave it in your hands.
Yeah. Ball's in your court, baby.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye. Massachusetts.